we'll get started here talking about the earth element. So the earth element is the stomach and spleen, channel, and meridians. And as we know, if you look at the 5 elements chart, it's on the 5 points of the star after the lung and large intestine. But in the other systems, you sometimes see it in the middle. And each element basically touches the earth element before it moves into the next element. And we can look at that in a number of different ways. It reflects the idea that the earth element is transitional. So if we think about transitions in our life, these are usually times that the earth element is impacted, especially seasonal changes. So you'll see during season changes, I don't know if you've noticed in your practice, but the change of seasons, a lot of people get sick. They catch cold, their immune system gets weaker, they have more phlegm, right? And that's the body shifting to these, changes, the rhythm of life, daily life. So we see it that way, but we also see in terms of the 5 elements, the earth element is like it's the earth, but it's also the kind of the human side of the elements. So it affects our earthly being, right? That earth element. And even if you think about, in a lot of sort of ancient ways, like the stomach in Spain is yellow, right? And they used to call Asian people yellow. Like I don't know. Sometimes these ideologies work together a little bit, right? Like the metal element, which is kind of like air in astrology, right? It's ethereal, but it's also the stone elements, right? The fire obviously is the heart. The water is the water in our body, or the blood. Also, we could say potentially, but liver is more related to that. And then wood being the tenant. So the earth element is like the flesh, right? The muscles, the flesh. So that's kind of it's a little bit like our living being, but also related in a lot of ways to the sun, the yellow of the sun, right? The daily shifts and changes that happen. And also something, in terms of how we treat the earth element. If you think about, you're sleeping, and when you wake up in the morning, right, the first thing when you're getting out of bed, your first major movement is, putting your leg on the floor. So you're basically stimulating the stomach meridian, right? The stomach meridian. And the time of the stomach meridian also 8 a.m. So once we pass through that sort of ethereal time of the lung, then we go into the time of the stomach. So when we talk about treating the stomach meridian, it's one of those things similar to the do mind, something that I do on most of my clients at the beginning of the treatment, is treating the lower stomach meridian legs. And that started out at the beginning because of stomach 36, because we know that's such an important point, right, for energy. And then as my kind of theoretical understanding of Chinese medicine and the meridians developed, and as I learned from a lot of different teachers over the years, I could see a pretty regular, consistent pattern of, that stomach meridian. I mean, it is, it's the source of qi, right? The earth element is the source of qi. So it kind of makes sense to stimulate the source qi at the beginning of the treatment so that the qi is available for the rest of the body to process. Just like in the morning when we flex our feet and ankles, we're stimulating the stomach meridian, and it sort of gets everything else going. So I'll say one thing about, stomach 36 and working on the stomach meridian is I am a little bit careful with elderly patients. I always try to get them in earlier in the day, because if I stimulate their stomach chi or do moxa on stomach 36, sometimes they have too much energy and then they can't sleep at night. So that's something that is, you know, I try to get my elderly patients in like pretty early in the morning, and they have chi to get through their day, and then by the end of the day they're tired. They go to sleep and have great sleep and they feel good. But in terms of treating, you know, stomach and spleen meridian, obviously, you know, we have the stomach going through the face and the head. It goes through the facial sinuses, the side of the mouth, and into the jaw, the TMJ. Again, you know, flesh, right through the thyroid, so it's an important point related to the thyroid, and the neck and chest. You know, I do a fair bit of cupping and gua sha, like around the breast, particularly for lymphatic. It's also, you know, there's a connection with the lymph as well, the lymphatic. And then in the abdomen, of course, we can have bloating, gas, hiccups, undigested food, diarrhea, constipation, so we can work along. Stomach 25 is a really good point for that kind of thing. Stomach 30 at the pubic bone connects with the chong mai, has a lot to do with birth prep, pubis symphysis issues. You can use the stomach meridian to treat, and I have actually like an exercise that I treat my pubis symphysis clients with that isn't necessarily a stomach meridian, but it helps kind of stabilize the joint. And then of course we have it running down the legs. Now, as you may notice, there's not a lot of points, particularly in the thigh, right? Acupoints that we use for acupuncture, or, you know, we obviously palm or palpate or use our thumbs on it, but there's not really any important strong points in the upper thigh until you get to, you know, the superior border of the lateral patella and below the patella, and these are important points for knee pain that we treat a lot. And then most of the really important points for the stomach meridian are on the lower leg and in the foot. So this is where, generally speaking, this is, if I'm only going to treat a small portion of the stomach meridian, it's going to be in that lower leg area. And stomach 36 has a really important anatomical location as well, which is always interesting to me. And I don't remember what teacher it was that pointed this out to me. It was a very long time ago. But stomach 36 is at the location of the epiphyseal plate of the tibia, as well as this large intestine 10.5 point is at the same location. So they're both very important energy and immunity points, because this is where the bone marrow and the white blood cells are produced. So it's really important for energy and immunity. So these together, this is like a Nagano style acupuncture approach, but also with acupressure. These 2 points working together are very, very good for boosting the immune system. So you often find, you know, in your clients, if you run your finger along the tibia, which is not exactly the stomach meridian, but if you run your finger along the side of the tibia, you'll notice like sometimes there's bumps and sometimes there's gummy bits along there. So that's really important. You know, when you're working on the stomach meridian, you want to get the flow going. You want to try, you know, just like we were talking about the lung meridian, like you want to try and smooth that out as much as possible, so there's good movement, right? And the foot is moving really, really well. Now, you know, other than acupressure, this is something that, again, with moxibustion, like I would do a little bit of shallow needling and moxibustion on those points to free up that congestion and get things moving on the meridian. and again, it's really important, right? Because that's a lot of chi that can be blocked in that area, and it's always harder to push chi up, right? Especially when it's kind of going against the meridian. So very important. And then key points again. Somehow I managed to miss stomach 36 as a key point there, so you can just write that in so that we all know that it's obviously really important at key point. Stomach 37, regulating the large intestine. Stomach 39, regulating the small intestine. So obviously the meridian is really important for digestive concerns. And stomach 38 for contralateral shoulder pain and phlegm, right? Stomach 38, yeah. So now again, acupressure for phlegm, I'm not sure if we can have that much of an impact on it, but it's known to be a point for phlegm. So clinically, it's supporting the digestion and immune system, reducing congestion, and treating this lower leg really has a tendency to like make us feel lighter, right? Like the step is a little bit lighter, and you know, the muscles are just firing a little bit better, helps with the lymph flow, paired with the spleen channel. So I'm going to show you guys the way that I treat the stomach channel in the lower leg, again, because it's a little different. I mean, obviously, any of the stomach points on the face, you know, we did that already, the face massage, or the breast and chest is fairly straightforward, but I want to show you a couple of different ways that you can treat the stomach meridian in the leg and how I would go about doing that. Okay, so let's get a buddy. You're holding that cushion as if you're ready to come right on over here.
My stomach hurts today.
Does your stomach hurt today?
Yeah, I'm a little constipated.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, see, it's perfect.
Yes.
You pause it for a second. You like. So generally, the upper part of the stomach meridian. I mean, if you felt something that was really tight, you may work a little bit more there. The tendency is just to give it, you know, a little bit of prompt pressure to help wake it up a little bit immediately. Especially if you do notice that someone tends to lock their knees, it's not a bad idea to work on these. Yeah. These points as well. And then I usually start. And the stomach channel, and this is a perfect example, like it can feel a little bit spongy. It can feel ropey as well. But like this feels a little spongy. So we're basically working right along the tibialis anterior muscle. And it's kind of a small area to do calming, so generally I just do from the side or from up. And then I come back to stomach 36. Yeah.
Sideways.
is rarely deficient per se. Of course, we can work back up the spleen meridian.